Ah, the Academy Awards. It's Hollywood's biggest night. All about the glamour, the celebration, the cinematic achievement. But underneath all those gold statues and red carpet smiles, there's a pretty strict set of rules. And if you break them, you might just find yourself on the industry's most exclusive blacklist. So, what does it actually take to get kicked out of Hollywood's biggest party? Well, let's get into it. The answer to that question has changed a lot over the years. From wild onstage antics to serious off-screen crimes, the line you absolutely cannot cross has been redrawn time and time again. And it really reflects Hollywood's own shifting values and, well, its relationship with what we, the public, think.
And of course, we have to start with the one everyone remembers, the 2022 ceremony. Chris Rock's on stage, he makes a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, and then bam! Will Smith walks up and slaps him. It was just this jaw-dropping moment that absolutely stunned the world and really forced the Academy to make a very, very public decision.
So, to really understand what gets you banned, we're going to break it down into a few key areas. First, there's disrupting the ceremony itself. Then, we'll look at violating the Academy's internal rules. And finally, the most serious cases, getting expelled for criminal conduct. It's a journey that actually tells you a whole lot about the Academy's evolving standards. Okay, let's start with the most dramatic stuff, disrupting the ceremony. These are the moments that happen live in front of millions of people, where what someone does has immediate and often very lasting consequences.
So after the slap, the Academy came down and banned Will Smith from attending the Oscars for 10 years. But here's the crucial detail. He isn't banned from Hollywood. He can still get nominated for and even win another Oscar during this decade. He just can't physically be in the room if it happens. But on-stage disruptions aren't always physical. Let's go back to 1993. Richard Gere is up there presenting an award, and he goes totally off script to condemn China's occupation of Tibet. The Academy was not happy. While they never made it official, he basically wasn't invited back to present for almost 20 years. It was an informal ban, a quiet but clear message that the Oscar stage is for movies, not unapproved political statements.
And then you have the pure publicity stunts. In 2012, the Academy heard that Sacha Baron Cohen was planning to show up in character as Admiral General Aladdin from his movie The Dictator. They were so worried he turned the whole red carpet into a circus that they actually revoked his tickets for a bit. They did eventually back down, and of course he showed up in full costume and dumped an urn of what he claimed were Kim Jong-il's ashes all over Ryan Seacrest. It was pretty much exactly the kind of chaos the Academy was afraid of.
So when you look at these incidents side by side, you can really see the different levels of consequences. A physical assault gets you a formal decade-long ban. An unapproved political speech gets you a long, informal timeout. And a big promotional stunt nearly gets you barred from the building. Clearly, the Academy's response really depends on just how you disrupt the show.
All right, let's move on to a completely different kind of offense. This one didn't happen on stage, but it struck right at the heart of the movie business itself, piracy. In this case, well, it set a whole new precedent for getting kicked out of the club. I want you to meet Carmine Caridi. He was a character actor. You might even recognize him from the Godfather films. But he holds this really unfortunate distinction of being the very first person ever to be completely expelled from the Academy. And his crime? It wasn't a slap or a speech. It was sharing his VHS screener tapes.
So here's how it all went down. As an Academy member, Caridi got screener copies of films so he could vote on them. Well, he shared them with a friend who then turned around and uploaded them to the internet. The FBI got involved, studios started suing, and in 2004, the Academy expelled him. For life. Just for sharing some tapes. It was a huge message to the whole industry. Protect the product or else.
Now we get to the most serious offenses. This is what led to a whole wave of expulsions and signaled a massive cultural earthquake inside the Academy. Because in the wake of the #MeToo movement, the standards for being a member were about to change forever. So in 2017, the Academy's Board of Governors drew a massive line in the sand with this powerful statement. They were essentially declaring a new code of conduct, making it crystal clear that the old days of just turning a blind eye to criminal and predatory behavior were officially done. And they backed it up with action, swiftly. In October 2017, Harvey Weinstein was the first to be expelled under this new standard. Then, the next May, boom, both Bill Cosby and Roman Polanski were also removed. A few years later, in 2021, cinematographer Adam Kimmel followed. See, this wasn't about disrupting a TV show anymore.
This was about upholding a new moral standard for the entire organization, a standard that finally had real teeth.
So, what does this all tell us? I mean, when you look at all these different cases together, from on-stage slaps to off-screen felonies, a pretty clear picture of the Academy's changing identity starts to take shape. It really boils down to two different tiers of punishment. On one side, you've got these temporary bans for disrupting the show. That's all about protecting the brand and the broadcast. But on the other side, you have permanent expulsions, and that's about enforcing a code of conduct and cutting ties with members whose actions bring shame to the whole industry.
So really, the most crucial thing to understand is that the rules for getting banned from the Oscars are not set in stone. Not at all. What might have been tolerated or maybe just quietly ignored in the past is now grounds for immediate, permanent expulsion. The institution is actively redefining, right in front of us, what it even means to be a member in good standing.
And that brings us to the big final question, doesn't it? The Academy has shown that it is willing to act and act decisively to uphold its new standards. So, as public accountability and industry ethics keep evolving, you just have to wonder, who might be next to lose their seat at Hollywood's most important table?